So I'm back to my Git demo project, and if I do a pwd, you can see exactly where I'm at in my system. I'm in a project subfolder and a folder called Git demo after my project name. So now we're ready to actually start editing some files for the first time. And if I do an ls, which just lists out all the files I have in my project, you can see that I don't have any. So I'm going to use TextMate 2, which is a freely available text editor for the Mac, to create and edit my files. On Windows, you can just use Notepad or Notepad++ or your editor of choice. So let's start off by creating a README file. So I'm going to type mate, which is the command line way of invoking TextMate, and I'm going to use all caps for README. It's just a convention, and .md. I want to use Markdown as my format, which is really just an offshoot off of a plain text file. I'm going to press enter, and it launches TextMate for me. So I'm going to start off with a first level heading. So I start with a single hash, and TextMate is smart enough to realize that I have a .md file, which means I'm using Markdown, so it will adjust accordingly. So I'm going to say demo git repository. And after that, maybe I'll put some verbiage. This will be like a paragraph. So I put a couple lines in here. Now I'm going to save this document by doing Command S, and I'm going to close this program using Command W. So now I'm back to the command line. If I do an ls, you can see that I have the readme.md file in my folder. However, Git is not really aware of it, or it's aware of it, but it's not really tracking it. So the way we can confirm that Git is not really tracking this file is to use the git status command. So I'm going to type git status, and it's going to tell us several pieces of information. One is that we're on branch master. Whenever you create a new repository, you will automatically get a branch called master. This is the default branch. Theoretically, you could change this, but I would highly recommend against it. Just always keep your main branch called master. After that, it tells us we have an initial commit. What it's really telling us is we're building up to our initial commit. We haven't actually done a commit yet. And that it sees one untracked file. And all that just means is Git is just not actively tracking it. So currently where we're at with our Git workflow is we're editing files or creating new files within our workspace. We haven't added them to the staging area, so Git isn't tracking them, and we certainly haven't committed those changes yet. So the next step is to move forward and add this new file, the readme.md, to the Git staging area, also known as the Git index. And to do that, we're going to use the git add command. So you type git add and the name of the file. So readme.md. You press enter. So now what we do is a git status again, and it should say something different. So git status. And this time it says changes to be committed. That's just Git's way of saying these are the changes that are currently in the Git staging area or the index, waiting to be committed. So that's where we are with our Git workflow, is we're in the staging area. And we also see that Git is telling us that we have a new file, that this isn't something that it's tracked before. So to move forward, we need to use Git's commit command. We don't specify files, we just commit. So if we type git commit, and I like using the -m command for simple messages to sort of add the commit message on the command line. So I'm going to say initial commit. And now I'm going to press enter, and we have done our first commit. Now I'm going to clear to give myself some more space. So now if we do a git status, it tells us that, again, we're on the master branch and that there is nothing to commit, and we have a working directory that's clean. Basically, we're back to the same point we were before we made changes to our working directory. So now that our working directory is back to a clean state, we're free to make additional changes, create new files, edit the existing files, and keep working with Git.